I'm here to update you on the events of the past few days and nights. First and foremost, let me be clear. The violence and lawbreaking need to stop. I'm asking every member of this community to join me in this call. I support our First Amendment freedoms for peaceful and lawful demonstrations, calling for an end to injustices and inequity and racism that are present across our society. To those paying attention, these calls for change are being drowned out by relentless violence, mayhem, and illegal behavior. I'm simply saying recent events are not exercises in the First Amendment freedoms. They're lawlessness for an apparent singular goal for destruction. For the past few nights, crowds of individuals with no clear message about change have been breaking windows, setting large fires, assaulting officers with rocks, bottles, and metal bats, throwing explosives at buildings and officers, and blocking first responders from addressing the criminal behavior and fires. The Seattle Police Department has addressed each of these events, and we have made over 24 arrests. We're working with our city, county, and federal partners to ensure individuals who engage in this level of criminal behavior are held fully accountable. But let me pause here for a moment and stress something. Some will claim that the fires and property destruction are acceptable. Some will even state that assaulting an officer is okay because they have protective equipment. But no, none of this behavior is acceptable. I have little doubt that had on the officer assaulted with a metal bat had not had a helmet on, it would have been a critical or deadly injury. The metal bat cracked the helmet. I know some have asked, why are we wearing out there from the onset in helmets? That is a perfect example. Some of the individuals have shown night after night they want to hurt and potentially kill officers. I will ensure my officers always have the protection, the proper equipment to safely provide public safety. That is why I'm going to announce that last night we arrested a 19-year-old Kirkland man on suspicion of arson. We continue to investigate all of these incidences of arson and assaults on officers that seem to occur each and every night. I also know that some will state that the behavior is justified because of these actions of some of the police officers. What I know is that here in Seattle, our robust accountability system will investigate any and every complaint against officers, and I will hold those accountable when the evidence shows it is deserved. Again, I want to be clear. My issue is not with peaceful demonstrations. However, information shared online by some of the parent organizers of these events make it clear what their goals are: to compromise the wellness and health of my officers, to tie up SPD resources, to decrease the support that SPD has in the community, and to disrupt normal community activities. As long as people are destroying property, looting, risking lives by starting fires, and generally rioting across the city, we will continue to deploy resources to arrest as many individuals as we can who engage in criminal behavior. I'm also speaking specifically about the ongoing illegal car racing and street shows. This is a regional issue, and we are working with our local law enforcement partners, but this has to stop. Someone is going to get seriously injured or killed. This almost happened last night if you watched the video from near the Space Needle. Working with our partners, we've made arrests related to these types of events, but the people organizing these events have to stop. Throughout all of this, I have to commend the officers of SPD. In the past 4 days, they've safely resolved 2 barricaded situations with weapons incidences. One where the individual had allegedly committed a homicide, and last night, one with a sword. They've responded to multiple shots fired instances, including providing medical aid to shooting victims while waiting for EMS. They've rescued a victim of a carjacking kidnapping and apprehended the suspect. These major events amidst the normal events of any shift, and while trying to prevent large-scale damage to the city from these riots. So I thank the officers for continuing to do what they do every day. If you want to thank them too, if you're ready for this violence to be over, let us make it all clear that this is not how Seattle creates change. We cannot and do not accept putting lives of our community at risk with criminal and reckless behavior. The violence has to stop, and we need every member of this community to demand this end as well. We cannot do this work by creating a new model of community safety while fires burn in our streets. Windows are breaking, officers are injured every night, and community members are placed at risk. This is not what Seattle is all about, and this is not who we want to be. I'll take a few questions.
Chief, that's an awfully strong message from you, but you're just one department in the city. You're asking for people, and believe me, I'm talking to people who are very angry, and actually they're angry with the protesters at this point because they say that they feel that what was a peaceful demonstration with which they might sympathize has turned into some sort of violence on a regular night, on many nights. Can you by yourself make a change that will prevent what has been happening for the last few nights stop?
I think you bring up a good point. I think this is a community. It has to be driven by community. We all have to be able to say that this has to stop. We're only one entity in this process, but we do have to deal every single night, daily, with the damage that is occurring, the businesses that are affecting, the residents that are affected by this. So I think all of us collectively have to be able to come together and say this must stop. And then we also play a big role because we are dealing and responding to it on a daily basis. But I want to make sure that we don't draw all of our resources to handle this and forget that there is actually crime that occurs throughout this city. I think it's a message for all of us. You know, I've been in close communication, and the mayor was unable to be here, but she completely supports the need to end this type of violence that occurs every night. She supports, you know, the First Amendment rights, and she supports our civil rights reckoning, and that is what we all support. I mean, we all need to say, look, we know that there are racism in our society, but this is not how you actually create change. And so, yes, I think you're right on, is that there are a lot of other entities, and we need to make sure that those entities do speak out.
And Chief, speaking about resources, I'm from Como, and that was happening directly outside of Como, the street racing. But you know that happens at CenturyLink, that happens there. What can be done on the police side to get resources away from the Capitol Hill area, where obviously you need most of your people, but to get them out of the city or out into the city and kind of tamp these things down?
Yeah, so you know we have been working obviously with CenturyLink, because they started doing some of the street racing down there, as well as the Seattle Center, and we've been responding to it. Yesterday we had literally a barricaded situation. We had shots fired. We had demonstration that was tapping a lot of our resources to be able to respond. And that's the reason why, you know, one of the things that I've been really focused on is getting more people back into patrol. So in the next literally 3 days, we will have those personnel back into patrol, being able to respond to calls for service. And that was at the very onset of my tenure, was moving those 100 officers back in. And I think that will actually help us be able to respond throughout the whole city of the various crime issues that we're facing.
Well, I live right next to CenturyLink, and I did a story about all of the racing that's been happening, and then the sense that, yes, when the police come, they can do something, but they don't come. Mm-hmm. And so are you saying you're so stretched that you haven't been able to come?
We are, you know, when it comes to a very specific, sometimes evening, depending on the call for service. On Thursday that we had just the other day, where we had a demonstration going on I believe at Como. We also had a barricaded situation where a person had killed 2 people. We had then somebody show up at the jail acknowledging that he killed his girlfriend, and then then we were having that nightly demonstration as well. And so yeah, at times, and earlier in that day we also had the kidnapping and carjacking situation in Southwest Seattle. So as you can see, in one day we could very easily tap all of our resources. So it really is on a day-by-day basis about how we respond. But by having more officers in patrol, it makes it much easier, and I think that's what we're going to get to in the very soon coming days, that we'll have more people to be able to respond to all of those issues that do come about on a daily basis. You know, at this time, we're managing through our resources. We're, upstaffing many of those, like for today, we have a considerable amount of officers to handle and be able to respond to not only 911, but if we have demonstrations that do get out, we do have the officers that be able to respond to that as well. So,
Chief, you mentioned before the people organizing these car races and spin-outs or whatever you call them. What might you charge the people who organize this stuff with?
Some of that is part of reckless endangerment, and then sometimes it's also, you could have people that are also rendering criminal assistance. So when you find yourself creating an atmosphere that could create harm to others, you could, others that in the crowd could actually be charged for helping facilitate that. So right now, we're currently reviewing all other aspects of criminal law to see what type of charges that we would need based on the specific incident.
Chief, you mentioned the 19-year-old from Kirkland who was arrested. I saw his name on the jail roster. I wasn't sure, but I did put him in the list because of the arson investigation. Why did you mention that? Is there something special about that? There were others that were there with obstruction and failure to disperse, but arson is a different deal. Yeah,
so arson is obviously a higher risk type of activity. As you saw last night, we had 3 dumpsters that were in the roadway. And he was specifically one of that pieces of lighting and trying to incite more or create gasoline onto the fire to spark it even more. So those are the things that when we start to put more of the community at risk, we want to make sure that we highlight those types of instances, because that isn't just setting out a small little barn fire in the backyard. That is actually creating harm in the community as well.
Was that on 11th?
That is at 11th,
Okay.
11th and Pine.
And I didn't see any other arson arrests. It looked like that was the only one. You say he was one of them.
Yes, well, there was several people that were involved in that, but we did make that one arrest specifically for that case. So,
well, Chief, what can we expect tonight?
Right now we have a plan. One of our chiefs, Tom Mahaffey, is out leading as far as being the incident commander for tonight. And we have all of the resources. We're hoping that we can just address mostly the crime issues that are occurring throughout the city, and being able to, reduce sometimes the shots fired that occur throughout the city, and that's what we're going to be focused on. If there is people that are going out and peacefully protesting, we'll help facilitate that peaceful protest. But if they're coming to create this mayhem, we're going to address this mayhem.